Okay, we will start. You can start that also. Yasmat jatam jagat sarvam yasminyeva praliyate yenedam dharyate chaiva tasmai jnanatmane namaha Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine vyomavat vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha Taittiriya Upanishad mayacharya prasadataha vispashtartaruchinam hi vyakyeyam sampraniyate Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi Tasmadva yetasmaat pranamayat Anyontara atma manomayaha Tenaisha purnaha Sava yesha purusha vidha eva Tasya purusha vidhatam Anvayam purusha vidaha Tasya yajure vashiraha Rugdakshinah pakshaha Samottarah pakshaha Adesha atma Atarvangirasah pucham pratishta Tadapyesha shloko bhavati Yato vacho nivartante Aprapya manasa saha Anandam brahmano vidwan Na bibheti kadachaneti Tasyaisha eva sharira atma yapurvasya. So we saw this part of Brahmanandavalli. So we have actually looked at three layers. The first layer, if I may call so, is a physical person, Annamayam Atma, which is a physical person, sort of. Then we saw the Pranamaya Atma, Pranamayam Atma, which is some sort of an energetic person, if I have to use a word like that. Then, of course, now we are seeing the Manomayam Atma, which is mindful, I don't know, single L or double L. Mindful person is the third layer, which we are seeing now. If you may recall, last class when we stopped, I stopped with a very interesting point and I left a curiosity there. And I made two observations just to recollect. When we discussed Annamayam Atma and Pranamayam Atma, the sacrificial bird kind of a metaphor which we saw, the right wing, the left wing, the tail and the head and the body and so on, they were all pointing to this unit of analysis called individual. Prana eva shiraha vyano dakshina pakshaha apana uttara pakshaha akasha atma. All these are part of this individual, which is the unit of analysis. But the moment we came into Manomaya Atma, the references have gone out now. It is talking about Rig, Yajur, Sama and Atharva. So I left that. So I said first time we are using this as a unit of analysis, But the right wing, left wing are now become Yajurveda, and the head is the Yajurveda, and the right wing is the Rigveda, left wing is the Samaveda, and the tail is the Atharva Veda, and all that we have said. So that's one departure. But more important question is, how at all you connect to Yajurveda and Rigveda to a Manomayam Atma? This was the question I left last class. I said we will discuss that, continue it in the next class. There is a very interesting reconciliation of these. Shankaracharya's Bhashya has it so well. But before doing it, let me bring a concept which I teach in my management course. That explains this much better. Or in other words, I see it here. What happened was, this is a very famous example in what is called knowledge creating company. There is a book written by one of these Japanese, Nanakawa. He wrote a book called Knowledge Creating Company. There is a favorite example he gives. The Matsushita Electric developed a bread kneading machine. They actually did an R&D and developed a machine which will do the kneading of the dough. What they found was, the best of their R&D, it just was not working. Either the dough is over burnt in the middle, or if it is just about all right in the middle, the dough is green at the edge. So their R&D was bad. They didn't know how to solve this problem. So they did something. He writes this in the book. They did something unusual. What they did was, they sent the R&D engineer to the Osaka, one big star hotel in Osaka. He was an understudy with the chef for 6 weeks. 2 R&D engineers were sent. And what was he doing? He is an R&D engineer, he is a chef. He was just observing what he was doing. That's how the story goes. So the chef was throwing the dough up and down, doing all kinds of things. He observed it. These 2 R&D engineers were observing it for 5 weeks. And I do not know what they learned. The fact was, they were understudy for 5 weeks. They came back and redesigned their atta kneading machine with a new process which they patented called twist dough process, which was a runaway success. This is a story which I normally teach in my learning organization lectures and all. I talk about this. The point is, this points to something very fundamental. And the question is, how does knowledge transmit? That's the question we are asking now. This R&D engineer go to a hotel, and the chef is doing his juggleries and preparing his dough for his daily use. After 6 weeks, he comes and develops a atta kneading machine which is solve the problem which they had. The question is, how did it happen? So the point is, knowledge, we have to understand, knowledge is always implicit. There is no, knowledge is not in the book. Knowledge is not explicit. Knowledge is implicit. So, if you have to transfer knowledge, which is what that Osaka chef has unwittingly done. He didn't do any of those. I am only using that example. Then I will come to our Vedanta and move from here to there. So, when a knowledge has to be transmitted, whatever be the knowledge, we are talking about an aparavidya. Now we are talking about paravidya. That is an aparavidya, whatever it is. When knowledge has to be transmitted, the route is as follows. Knowledge always resides internally. It is implicit. No knowledge is explicit. Now when you transmit, it becomes explicit. Now I try to talk. My implicit knowledge is coming out. I don't know what you know. I don't know what others know. I only talk what I know. I have gathered some implicit knowledge that comes out in the form of explicit knowledge. Now the other person picks up the explicit knowledge. You cannot gather implicit knowledge at all. After you gather the explicit knowledge, you already have a repository of implicit knowledge with which you will connect it. That's you will synthesize. The correct word to use is synthesize. So what did this R&D engineer do? He had some idea. He saw something. What he saw was an expression of an implicit knowledge explicitly in some way. And what he understood was explicit, he went and then synthesized it. Then his implicit knowledge has gone to a higher level now. This is the chain of knowledge transfer. Now let's come to the problem at hand. Why are you now saying that for the Manomaya Atma, Yajurveda, Rigveda, Yajurveda, all those? Now with this example, we'll move on and we'll reconcile this issue that we have here. So it says Yajureva Shiraha, Rig Dakshinah Pakshaha, Samaha Uttarah Pakshaha, Atharvangirasaha Pucham, Adeshaha Atma. So these are all nothing to do with the human beings, although the unit of analysis for the Pancha Kosha is a human being. These are all knowledge systems. These are actually knowledge systems. So now the question is, why is knowledge system connected to the mind? If you have solved that problem, then there is nothing wrong in this statement. So that is all that we have actually come very close to that. So all that we have to appreciate is knowledge happens in a particular way in which mind seems to be an important faculty. This is the issue. If you reconcile to that idea, then all these will fall in place. Okay? So we will see that. So let's look at the learning process. As I told, knowledge always develops within individuals. Tacit. In Vedanta, I call it as Anubhuti. Is sugar sweet? Don't waste your time reading 500 pages physical and chemical properties of sugar. Put 1 spoon of sugar. Sweetness is an idea for you. It's not Anubhuti. It's not Anubhava. The moment it becomes Anubhava, that is knowledge. That is implicit knowledge or tacit. It's not explicit, it is tacit. That's what knowledge is. We can read about swimming, but the best thing is to jump into the pool. With safety, of course. So the point is, Anubhuti is the only source of knowledge. Right? But if knowledge has to be transferred from a unit A to unit B, if I have to share my knowledge, you have to share your knowledge with someone, then it has to be explicit. And the explicit are under the control of a great organ called Manas. In 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Sri Krishna talks about Prakriti, he says, Mahabhutana ahankaraha, buddhihi avyaktamevacha. Then he says, Indriyani dashaikancha, Pancha cha indriya gocharaha. So he used a very interesting word there. Last class I mentioned it. Indriyani dashaikam, 10 plus 1. Dasha plus ekam is dashaikam. And what is this 10 plus 1? This 1 is manas. Manas is controlling the indriyas which do the vyapara of knowledge either ways. The karmendriya is also controlled by manas. The jnanendriya is also controlled by manas. The vyapara of knowledge is mediated only through karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. Jnanendriyas bring you knowledge, karmendriyas put knowledge out. That is why manas is very, very important in this knowledge creation process. So this is what it is. So let us look at the Guru Sishya Parampara. Guru has Anubhuti. Guru has Anubhava. Whatever state, Guru has the Anubhava. There is a tacit knowledge. So when the instruction happens, that is called Shravanam. Shravanam is what? Tacit, explicit to explicit. Something is told, somebody is hearing. That's all. Sugar is sweet. Sugar is sweet is only a tacit knowledge going to another person as a tacit knowledge. Sugar is crystal-like. Sugar is white. Sugar has, sucrose and this and they are all hydrocarbons. These are all tacit knowledge. A person who has that implicit knowledge may articulate it better. But the person who is on the other side, the first instance of capturing knowledge is tacit. That is called Shravanam. That's what I have written it as Shravanam. Then what happens? The explicit knowledge becomes implicit knowledge. That is called Mananam. The word there is Manas. Mananam will happen only with Manas. Otherwise, Mananam na bhavati. So the second step in this knowledge getting crystallized is Manana. That's why in Aranyaka Upanishad, Maitreyi was told by Yajnavalkya, Shrotavyaha mantavyaha nididyasitavyaha. That's what he said. That is how you gather finally. Here, you do deep contemplation, then internalize, which means wire it into your anubhava. So, an explicit knowledge transfers into another explicit knowledge. Sugar is sweet, is only an explicit knowledge. Now, if you put a spoon of sugar into your mouth, it will become, you will start thinking. The mind starts working and it maps a property called sweetness. That is called tacit. Now, there is a nididhyasana. If you contemplate very deep, you will recognize jamun also has sweet. Jalebi also has sweet. Mysore pak also has sweet. You raise it to the much higher level. You are now able to make a pattern recognition of this knowledge into a variety of things. That comes only when deep. I mean, these are all taken for granted. We may be going through that process. We have just taken it for granted. So, explicit knowledge becomes tacit by mananam. The tacit becomes nididhyasana. It gets to the next, it moves the efficiency frontier to the next higher level. It moves to the next higher level of knowledge. So, I call it as new tacit. Now, that new tacit can become new explicit when you talk. You have more wisdom to bring out. You are able to tell it better than what I was saying some time back, and so on and so forth. So, it's like that. So, in all these, the vyapara is done only by manas. Buddhi, chitta, ahankara are there, but the enabler, the kingpin of this whole process is manas. And so, what are these Vedas? Vedas, so this is the connection now. The connection is manas can be related to any kind of knowledge creation, and the embodiment of knowledge are the Vedas in some form. So, the knowledge creation process requires mind. Nobody can, if you don't have the mind, you will not hear. If you don't have the mind, you will not, infer what you heard. There are people who can sit, lecture will go and they will sleep. Literally sleep in the sense that mind is not there. So, mind is very important for this vyapara. So, knowledge creation process requires mind. Words are required for passing the thought from one to another. Some words, some signs, some tags, some sound. So, these are all very, very important for this repository of knowledge. It starts from simple knowledge of the examples I gave to the Paravidya. The mechanism is no different. The mechanism is very similar. The processes are very similar. So, that is why, says, these are all from Shankara's Bhashya, he brought these statements. He says, Mano vrittitve mantranam vrittihi eva avartayata. He says, what are these? These Veda are not books. Veda are not printed material. Veda are a set of mantras. Manyantam trayate iti mantraha. So, everywhere the mind is there. These are all the manovritti. Manovritti manifests as Vedas. Today we may probably print it, maybe put it on a PPT and then look at it and so on. Vedas and all those are just knowledge. And that knowledge, the only medium in which it will reside, the only medium in which it will be synthesized, the only medium in which it will be improvised and all that are manas. That is why the Pakshi that we saw brought all these when you talked about Manomaya Atma. That is the whole idea here. So, that is why it says mantraha requires mananam. Only when you do mananam, mantras are there, otherwise they are not there. So, the state of the mind is related to the organs of utterance, because the Pancha, the 10 indriyas are under control of the mind. That is why in dream sleep it will switch off all of them, mind will play everything. Mind will run, mind will talk, mind will cry, mind will catch a flight, mind will meet somebody in the temple, everything will happen in dream. You don't need an eye, but you will see. You don't need a mouth, you will speak. You don't need the leg, you will run. Mind is capable of doing all that. So, state of the mind is related to the organs of utterance. State of the mind is related to the effort involved in utterance, because all these relate to either karmendriyas or jnanendriyas, which are all under the CEO of all of them is manas, or the sound produced thereby, the intonation, letter, word, sentences, all organs for communication are with the manas. That is why manas means knowledge, and knowledge means Vedas. Vedas does not mean book or anything like that. They are nothing but piece of knowledge which are floating around, which are caught by manovritti, which are transacted by the manas. That is why all these are put part of that. So Vedas are not words, Vedas are not published material, nor written down instructions. I mean, traditionally our sampradaya was like that. Today we have moved to a printed media, but it doesn't in any way negate this statement. This statement still holds good, right? They are wisdom, they are thoughts, they are knowledge originating in the mind and associated with it. That's why these two nice mantras, they are all, one of them is, the second mantra is also in Taittiriya Aranyaka as well as Shveteshwara Upanishad, also it is there. Sarve Veda Yatraikam Bhavanti Sa Manasina Atma. That's what it is. Where all the Vedas get united is the self in the mind. So mind is coming to think of it, the embodiment of all the Vedas. So that's where it fructifies and then manifests in its own, whatever way it has to manifest. Richo Akshare Parame Vyoman Asmin Deva Adivishve Nishedu is a Rigveda mantra. It's a nice Rigveda mantra. It's there even in, I think, Mahanarayana Upanishad also, I think this mantra, somewhere it is there, I think. So the Rigveda mantras exist in that undecaying and supreme space. Parame Vyoman. Yasmin, in that. Devaha Adivishve Nishedu. All this notion of God, knowledge, wisdom, everything rests in the Veda. And that Veda is not elsewhere. It manifests in the mind. That is why when Manomaya Atma was described, the Vedas are brought to remind us of all these complex connections between knowledge and the mind. That is why all these have come. Okay. So I wanted to clarify this. Last class I just left it at a loose end and it was already 7 o'clock, so I said let's continue it. Now the Shruti moves to the Upasana, because as you see, every layer is, there is an order in which it is dismissed. So the order is described, I will come to it. So anyway, this is the Upasana Pala. Manomaya, if you do Upasana of Manomaya Atma, what happens? It says, Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasa Saha. Beautiful two mantras. These mantras come in the last Anuvaka of Brahmanandavalli. Same mantra comes. Only thing is there, it says Kutaschana Bibeti. It says Kadachana na Bibeti. That's the only difference. Same mantra, beautiful mantra. Look at what it is saying. Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasa Saha. This speech along with mind went that far, it could not catch that ultimate principle. There is a loss of communication. There is a loss of expression. The ultimate truth is not amenable to vocabulary. Although we use vocabulary to transact a certain kind of knowledge, that knowledge is still lower level. That's why in Mundaka Upanishad, Shaunakaha Mahashalaha Angirasam Papracha Kasmin Vijñate Sarvamitam Vijñatam Bhavati iti. That was the first question in opening statement in Mundaka Upanishad. Shaunakaha Mahashalaha, very wealthy and a very well-to-do person, Shaunak, he goes to Angiras. And Angiras is the one who brought a lot of Atharva mantras. That's why Atharva Angirasa Pucham Pratishta, we just know sa. Atharva, there is Rishi by name Atharva and the Rishi by name Angiras. They brought most of the Atharva Veda mantras. So that is Atharva Veda actually. Atharva Angirasam Pucham Pratishta Visa. So anyway, so this Shaunak goes and asks Angiras, Kasmin Vijñate Sarvamitam Vijñatam Bhavati. Tell me, by knowing that I will be known of everything. Give me that. In one shloka, Angiras dismisses all the 4 Vedas. First reply he gives is, all these Yajurveda, Rigveda, Samveda, Mantra, Brahmana, Upanishad, all of them are Aparavidya. He says they are not Paravidya. They are not the ultimate truth. That is being confirmed here. What it says, that thought process can only give you an idea. It will not give you the Lakshya. It can give you only Vachyartha, not the Lakshyartha. It cannot give you the Lakshya. It can give you a Lakshyartha. It can talk about it. It cannot talk it. It can only talk about it. That's why he says, Yato Vacho Nivartante Aprapya Manasa Saha. So, a deep contemplation of this thought is very important. In our search for the ultimate truth, although when we said Annamayam Atma, we said that is the embodiment of knowledge. When we do a deep upasana, we will find that that knowledge will not carry us too far. You have to give up all that, and there is some more journey to make to capture the ultimate truth. That's what this mantra is saying. So that is why the vacha and manasa saha, along with mind, this speech went and said, let me find that ultimate truth, but aprapya, it couldn't get, it came back. So a deep contemplation of these will bring an upasaka to what? It will bring to the conclusion that manas cannot be Atman now. We started with the idea that manas can be an Atman because that is the embodiment of knowledge. We realize that the knowledge is about the truth and not the truth. You can use the knowledge, but you have to, something more than that has to happen. In other words, the manas is required, but the manas does not get you the anubhuti. Manas is a vehicle, it's a step in the process. Without manas that may not happen, but manas is not enough. That is the point that is coming. So a deep contemplation of that is what the Shruti is recommending, as we said in the earlier cases. And again, one of the things that we found was whenever this upasana is done on a big thing, not in pinda, it is done on an anda. It is done not on vyashti but on samashti. So that's why tasma sarvayusham uchyate, ayusham uchyate. Then that is for prana. That is a samashti virat. Tasma sarvo annam uchyate in annamayam. That samashti is called annam. Here the samashti is called hiranyagarbha. So the contemplation of manomaya atma is done with hiranyagarbha as this sum total of all manas. Every one of us have manas. And not only us, animals have manas. Every jantu, jiva rashi has manas. Now the question is, what is the universe set of all these manas? That manas is called hiranyagarbha. And so this is saying that is the samashti on which you have to do upasana. Now it says, what is upasana pala? In everything it said the upasana pala. He says, Anandam Brahmano Vidwan. That person who did this upasana and did deep contemplation of it, he will get into pinnacle of joy. Because this is here, na bibeti kadachaneti. He will not be afraid any time. Kadachana. He trespasses the domain of fear. See, the fear comes when we are very body and mind conscious. If you do a deep contemplation and destroy the mind, we cross one limitation of us. So people ask, what is mumukshutva, moksha? Moksha is not what they show in the movie. In movie they show the beard is much longer, he looks very older and all. That is not mumukshutva. And a classic understanding of that is, look at this Parikshit. Parikshit was given 7 days. 7 days he is going to die. And Sukha Brahma came. Sukarishi could have done all his, he had so much of magic under him, he could have extended his life for a, few hundred years, maybe few thousand years. He didn't do that. He taught him something for 7 days. And what happened in the 7 days? Because there lies the real meaning of immortality. Mumukshutva means making everything which is anatman irrelevant. The Pancha Koshas are discussed in Taittiriya Upanishad to deeply make us realize all of them are anatman. That's why Atma will become Kosha after some time. So when all these limitations we are able to overcome, fear will go. We have fear because of limitations in life. We don't know what will happen, will this happen, will I get this? And we have a long list of reasons why we want to fear. And destroying the fear is not addressing that problem, to elevate us and understand who we are. That is what the Upanishads and the Gita and all these are pointing to us repeatedly. So here, that's why he says, na bibeti kadachaneti. A deep contemplation of this concept and the Hiranyagarbha Upasana will make sure that he will not be afraid of anything. Now if you remember in Shiksha Valli, there are 7 Upasanas we spoke. One of them was Hiranyagarbha Upasana. I don't know whether you are able to recollect. And in every Upasana there was a pala. I will read the phala for Hiranyagarbha Upasana there. That is told so nicely with one sentence called Anandam Brahmihe Brahmano Vidwan. You know what it said in Shiksha Valli? Because it is already said, it is not telling in great detail now. In Hiranyagarbha Upasana, what happened? This beautiful mantra of Taittiriya Upanishad is there. I will just recite that mantra, which we saw. It says, Apnoti swara ajyam, Apnoti manasaspatim, Vakpatis chakshushpatihi, Shrotrapatir vijnanapatihi, Yetat tato bhavati, Akasha shariram brahma, Satyatma pranaramam, Mana anandam, Shanti samriddham amritam. Great mantras. Vakpatis chakshushpatihi, Shrotrapatir vijnanapatihi. You will get the lordship of what you can hear and do things. You can get the lordship of what you can see and do things. You can do a lordship of what you can know and do things. And that's why it says Shanti, Samriddhi and Amritam will become a reality. Swarajyam, you will get this great Swarajya that you have, you will realize it. All that it said there itself. That's why it very concisely it says, Anandam Brahmano Vidwan Na Bibeti Kadachaneti. Just says this is what will happen if you deeply contemplate, understand this Manomaya. It started with a certain proposal of Manomaya. It has now moved us somewhere. It says, Aprapya Manasasaha. It won't go that far. So it will qualify for Anatman. All the 12 principles which I talked about Anatman will now apply. So now this Manomaya which we thought as an Atman is no longer Atman. So now it has to become a Kosha. That's how we will pierce one more layer and go into the next layer. But before doing that, it the same way it says, Tasya eshaha eva sharira atma. So the previous layer has become a layer now. It has become a balloon. So the balloon has to be filled. So the pranamaya has become a balloon. The manomaya is the sharira. Sharira which goes into a sharira. Dehi goes into the deha. So it says, at this level understand that the pranamaya has become a layer because it has become a kosha now. So it has been filled with manomaya. But if you have surpassed this understanding that manomaya is also not an atma but a kosha, then I will take you further. That's why at this point in time it says, Yapurvasya. Like I told earlier, I am telling you now. Now if you have mastered this understanding, let me take you to the next level. So it takes us to the fourth layer now, which is called Pranamayam Atma. But before that, I want to remind this. This logic is an algorithm. Modern algorithm looks exactly like this. This is the logic in Taittiriya Upanishad Brahmanandavalli. It has 6 steps and a recursive cycle, and there is a stop condition to come out. This is what it is doing. What is it doing? It started with a new layer. We started with Annamayam Atma. We started with a new layer, and the new layer is the content. Atma is content. Kosha is container. Atma is content. Kosha is container. So it always, it is taking us very logically. It takes a new layer and says this is the content. Then it is metaphorically put on this nice looking bird, this sacrificial bird, where it explains, understand the content. Then it says, it pushes our imagination to an upasana. It throws us a few sentences which makes us think it cannot be. A deep contemplation of that, moment we do it, we find, and the upasana palam is also established. What will happen if you really contemplate, you will get some benefits out of it. But then at the end of the upasana, we come to a conclusion that this is not the content, this is yet another container. So we come to that, logically we come to that argument. So the layer transitions from a status of Atma to a Kosha. So now you tear open and open the Kosha and find, so now go to step 1. So that is how we did. We started with Annamaya, came up to step 5, then we went up and then said now Pranamaya. We did all that for Pranamaya, again went to step 1, we have done Manomaya, now we are now going back to the step 1 now. So this is the algorithm which is running in Taittiriya Upanishad, in Brahmanandavalli. And now it is taking us to the 4th layer. Why? Because Manomaya is no longer an Atma. Deep contemplation says it is a Kosha, it is an Anatman. If it is an Anatman, then my search for Atman continues now. Open the door, get in, see what is there next inside. So that's where it is taking us further. Yes. So the Shruti continues with the next layer. Tasmadva etasmaatma tasmadva etasmaan manomayat anyontara atma vijnanamayah tenaisha purnah sava esha purusha vidhayeva tasya purusha vidhatam Anvayam Purusha Vidaha. Same set of mantras. We are just repeating, so I don't have to explain too much. Except it says Tasmatva. Out of that, Etasmatva, from this layer which just now you discovered, Anyaha Antara Atma, there is something inside, further inside. Anyaha Antara Atma Asti. There is one more now I will point you. That is called Vijnanamaya. This Maya, as you know, she may be able to maybe explain it much better. Maya comes from a Mat Pratyaya, Maya Pratyaya. It is actually a Maya Pratyaya. It is, you know, the easiest way to explain is you take a jamun, squeeze it, it is nothing but only the sugar juice. So it is sugar Maya. If I have to use, that's the best way to explain. It is soaked in it and nothing else. That is the meaning of Maya Pratyaya. It's all only that and nothing else. So Anandamaya, when you say, I am nothing but Ananda, there is not even an iota of anything else. So now the fourth layer is nothing but an embodiment of nothing but Vijnana. That's why it's called Vijnanamaya. It's a Maya Pratyaya. So it's nothing but Vijnana. There is nothing else you can see. So first we thought it is nothing but food, because that's what we found. You put food, this becomes bigger. Starve food, it becomes a little shrinking. So we thought it is all nothing but food. Then we said, no, there is a prana going in. So we thought it is only prana. Then we said, no, there is a manas. That's the Ajata Shatru example beautifully I showed last class. In Aranyaka Upanishad, very nicely it says, Ajata Shatru, Gargeya came. He is a Brahmin. And Ajata Shatru is a king. Gargeya came and Ajata Shatru said, if you show me Brahman, I will give you 1,000 cows with gold or something. So 16 things this Gargeya said. Ajatashatru said, no, whatever he said, he dismissed. No, you have not understood. Then this Gargeya said, sir, you have to teach me. He said, I am a Kshatriya, you are a Brahmin, nevertheless I will teach you. He caught him by hand. He took him to a sleeping person. Person was sleeping. He called him Indra, Chandra, Soma, you are all that. He never got up. He never got up because he was in deep sleep. He called him with all names. Prana is going. Then he went and then he rubbed his hand. The manas started working. The Indriyas became active, he got up. So Ajatashatru said, Prana is not Atman. There is something more than that. So that is how he came into Manomaya. Now from Manomaya we are getting into Pranamaya, Vijnanamaya. Tena Esha Purnaha. So now Manomaya has become a layer. So it can be filled in now. So all of them started with the physical body. It's like a mold. In mold, whatever you pour, it will take the shape of the mold. That's why it says Purusha Vidayeva. It will look like this akara because it is filled into this akara only. In this shape only you are filling the prana, you are filling the manas, you are filling the vijnana, intellectual part and so on. So Sava Yesha Purusha Vidayeva. It is exactly like this person that you see outside. Tasya Purusha Vidatam. His means are all exactly like Purusha because it is no different from Purusha. That's what you see at the outset. Right? Anuhu Ayam Purusha Vidaha. So it will follow everything that this Purusha follows because it is a cavity. Whatever it pours in the mold, if you make a mold which looks triangular, what you pour inside will look only triangular. If you pour something on circular, what will look inside will look only circular. If you take a Barbie doll mold and pour your Mysore Pak in it, you will get a Mysore Pak out of Barbie. So shape of the mold is what it is saying. That's why it is saying Anvayam Purusha Vidaha. Now, this word Vijnana is very, very important. I want to spend a little time in this particular word before we get into it. See, Sanskrit, such a beautiful language, Jnane is the dhatu. Jna is the dhatu. The way this language is made, such a powerful language, the way the language is made, you take a dhatu, then you can put a pradipadika, you can put all that you can put on the right side. or you can put what is called upasargas on the left side. This is how this is all manufactured. So you can endlessly, you can do Advaita, you do Kridanta, Purva Kridanta, Uttara, whole lot of things are there. From dhatu, you can endlessly create words. There are very small which are called abhyutpana, which are not related to a dhatu. Otherwise, every word is related to a 2200 dhatus. Take jna. Jna is to know, out of which jnanam came. Now you can actually put a lot of prefixes to that. This is the power of the language. Many languages don't have this. For example, you can say vijnanam, samjnanam, abhijnanam. Like this we can put. Each one of them has a different meaning actually. Right? So, jnana and vijnana are not the same. I mean, vijnana in common parlance we will say science. That's all common parlance usage. Chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita is called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. It was not casually mentioned like that. The word is, there is a meaning. Why it is called Jnana Vijnana Yoga? If Jnana and Vijnana are same, why are you putting both the words side by side? It is just repetition. It's not. Jnana is different from Vijnana. Vijnana is Visishta Jnana. In other words, knowing that sugar is sweet is Jnana. Moment you give me sugar, the sense of the sweetness in my tongue is Vijnana. Because it is Anubhuti, it is a deep knowledge. It is a realized knowledge. Knowledge and realization are two steps. Knowledge and realization are two steps. Mere knowledge makes us nothing. At best it can throw a little ahankara in us. It is the realization which can make us. So Vijnana is a very deep, that Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa can lead us to Vijnana. Mere Shravana will give us Jnana. So what we are talking about is, Manas is the Vyapara for Jnana, but then it is not the Jnana, there is something which makes it even deeper. We can be an embodiment of knowledge. We can be thought of as a repository of knowledge. That is the next layer it is taking us to. And please understand, this is more subtle than Manas. Manas is relatively less subtle because you are able to recognize Manas much easier. Knowledge recognition is even subtler. So increasingly we are moving in this, these 5 layers are moving in subtlety. This physical body is more gross, prana is much more, lesser grosser but more than the Manas. Manas is subtler than the prana. This Vijnana is even subtler. So that's where it is taking us now. So Vijnana is Visishta Jnana. It is that Anubhuti, it is that embodiment of crystallized knowledge coming out of deep contemplation. Every one of us is made of that also. We have our own quota of Vijnana. We are, as a Vyakti, I am also can be, look at me as a Vyakti with a certain Anubhuti. I am a Vyakti, you are a Vyakti with a certain clarified knowledge in its own ways, whatever it means, in whatever domain. So that is another personality of mine, which is where it is taking us now. So he says, we will now go to the next layer, which is Vijnanamaya. So now the metaphorical bird has come now, because that is the order in which this Shruti is introducing. It's very clever. It introduces very profound things with the bird. See, these 4 Vedas, simply putting on a bird, so much discussion we did. Same thing it is doing here also. It is very profound actually. This is the ways of ancient Indian wisdom. They do some simple metaphorical stuff, but we will have to really go deep. Let's look at what it is saying. Tasya shraddaiva shiraha ritam dakshinah pakshah satyam uttarah pakshah yoga atma mahapucham pratishta tadapyesha shloko bhavati. So it says, now let me describe the bird. The bird's head is Shraddha. Tasya here means that pranamaya atmasya, shiraha Shraddha eva. Shraddha eva shiraha. So let me put it onto the bird form. So it says, the shiras is the Shraddha. Okay? Ritam is the Dakshina Paksha. Satyam is the Uttara Paksha. Yoga is the Atma. Mahaha is the Pucham, or the support or the tail. Okay? Now, most important, this is actually communicating very deep. It is communicating something very profound. That is the power of this. Knowledge cannot be obtained without Shraddha. That is what it is first coming. I want to spend enough time on that. I have brought all references of Shraddha from Bhagavad Gita in one shot today. Because I want to talk as much as possible in Shraddha, because Shraddha is used too often in common parlance without understanding the importance of this idea in our culture. That's why it is put on the head. In fact, if you look at all the birds, go back and see all the birds, the head is the most important thing. Head is the CPU. Everything is wired through the head only. So Shraddha is the most, in fact in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, 37th shloka, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. That's what Krishna said. And the next shloka he said, I'll show you. Next shloka he said, Ashraddha ajnanasya samshayatma vinashyati. There are only a few places Krishna has really, very strong. He has been very mild. In one or two places he has been very strong. This is one shloka. Samshayatma vinashyati. A doubting Thomas will perish. He will go. In fact, in the second line it says, he will find nothing useful here. After he goes out of this world, he will find nothing useful wherever he goes. That strong statement he has made. So let us understand the Shraddha. Because otherwise, the jnanasya spuranam na spurayati eva. Jnana will not manifest in us. If jnana has to manifest in us, the biggest requirement is Shraddha. And we have to understand Shraddha. People have extensively talked about Shraddha. I have brought from several places today this notion of Shraddha, because we need to really understand it. It's very important for the journey that we are all making. There is a wonderful Upanishad called Mahanarayana Upanishad, 80 mantras. I love to recite it. This is actually comes after Taittiriya Upanishad. This is the 10th chapter of Taittiriya Aranyaka. Such a beautiful Upanishad. Profound. It's such a wonderful Upanishad actually. So this is the last but one mantra. There are 80 mantras. The 79th mantra and the 88th mantra, each mantra is 3 pages without a full stop. So, if we want to really test somebody good in Vedic recital, we will ask them to say this mantra. I can't say this very well. I learnt it very recently. If I had learnt it in my childhood, I would have said it very well. Anyway, first I will read it. Look at so beautiful. Recitation itself will be good. I will recite it first and then I will tell you what it is. This is actually a conversation between a father and a son. Right? Prajapati Aruni, that's how it starts. If you may recollect, sir, that's how it starts. He knows all these very well. So Mahanarayana Upanishad, Prajapati and his son have a conversation. The son asks Prajapati, what is the ultimate thing in life? How do you get it? After the conversation, he actually summarizes with one set of events here. So beautiful. I'll read it first. Yabhiradityastapati rashmi bestabhi parjanyo varshati parjanye naushadi vanaspataya prajayanta voshadi vanaspati birannam bhavatyannena prana praner balam balena tapastapasa shraddha shraddhaya meda medaya manisha manishaya mano manasa shanti shantya chittam chittena smritiga smritya smaragam smarena vijnanam vijnanena atmanam vedayati vedayati. It continues. I am stopping here. That's why I put a udata and stopping it here. It goes on. This relevant part only I took. Look at how they have actually connected. The son asked, what will get me ultimate knowledge? This is a question. Everybody has that question. That's where in Mundaka Upanishad it asks, Kasmin Vijñate Sarvamitam. All of us have only that question. Only thing is that question we ask differently. Or we understood the question differently. We thought making money is what is ultimate. Or something like that. We start that with that assumption. And as grey matter picks up, the assumptions are constantly verified. That is life. How he answers that question here. He says, Yabhihi adityaha tapati. As long as the sun shines, as long as there is scorching sun, tapati. Yabhihi aditya. You see where he is starting. He is saying, how do you get ultimate knowledge? Sun has to shine. This is how he is starting now. Right? He says, Yabihi adityaha tapati, Rashmibihi, then you get clouds. He is now moving from sun to a condensation cycle, the rain. So he says you will get clouds, Rashmibihi, Tabihi, from that you will get Rashmibihi, which is these clouds. Parjanyaha varshati, rain will come. So your ultimate knowledge, if you have to have ultimate knowledge, you need rain. Taittiriya Upanishad Brahmanandavalli started like that only, if you remember. Tasmad va etasmad akasha sambhutah akashad vayuh vayor agnihi agnerapah abhya prithvi prithvyam oshade. Same thing is coming differently here. So you see where he is starting. He is saying sun has to shine. If sun shines, you will get clouds. If you get clouds, you will get rain. So varshati pajanyena aushadihi. Because sun rains, you get aushadas. You get this nice plant kingdom. Tarkarigalu anta Kannada heltare. All your eating food are all coming through this aushadhi and vanaspataya. This plant kingdom and this forest and bigger plants and trees are required, for which you need rain, for which you need clouds, for which you need sun. So he has come that far. Vanaspataya prajayanta. Oshadhi vanaspatibihi. From the vanaspataya you will get oshadhis. You will get medicine. Food is medicine. Tasma sarvo shadamuchyate. In Brahmanandavalli just now we saw. Food is the disease. Food is the only medicine to cure the disease called hunger. The disease called hunger cannot be cured by any findings of the science. Food is required. Tasma sarvo shadamuchyate. That's what he said when we did the upasana of Annamaya Mahatma. So he says, food will come. Annam bhavati. That's what it says. Oshadhi vanaspatibihi annam bhavati annena pranaha. When you eat, you get vitality. You plant the seed in the womb of the woman and then the prana starts. This is the root. So annena pranaha. Vitality comes only out of food. Right? Pranaihi balam. So you have to have strength. That's why Vivekananda says, don't, a person who doesn't get even one food, don't waste time telling Vedanta to him. You need balam first. Food, clothing, shelter, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all teach like that here. It comes much better here. Okay? It says balam. With food you get balam. Balena tapaha. You can't sit and for half an hour on a Padmasana if you have not eaten for a few days. Please understand. If you have not eaten, there is one Upanishad, later I will bring it. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a beautiful story on that also. 15 days. 15 days without food, without water, all those are there. If you read Upanishad, we will have all wisdom actually. So nicely written on that. Anyway, so it says tapas. If you have to have tapas, you should need strength. Strength, you need vitality. Vitality needs food. So we have come that far. Tapaha. Tapasa shraddha. The shraddha will come only when you are able to tapas is mana, chittasya ekagrata. Adi Shankara's definition of tapas is manasya ekagrata. It's called tapas. If you are able to gather yourself as a personality, only then shraddha will come. A very distracted mind will not have shraddha. So you have to collect yourself first. So tapasa shraddha. Shraddha is actually when an airplane runs, when the airplane has to go to 20,000, 10,500, 30,000 feet, when it has to go, it has to develop a velocity on the ground. After it develops sufficient lift force, all that it is a tuck, that's all. Rest is history. Because you need to develop the lift force. In this whole story, lift force is Shraddha. It is at the middle, exactly at the middle. It is the end of the runway actually. You have to come up to Shraddha if we are not reached there. We are in Bala and Tapas we haven't come. Food, eating, enjoying, all those are there. We have not moved beyond that. So we have not developed the lift force. The velocity has not developed. That's what I am trying to tell. We have not developed the velocity, for which you need tapas. Tapas is the one which runs that second engine. Right? Tapas and Shraddha are like two engines in the aeroplane, which provides that torque and the momentum. Shraddha. Then once you have Shraddha, what will happen? Then he says Medha. Sharpness of your intellect will come only when you have Shraddha. Sharpness of intellect will come only if you have Shraddha. That's what it is saying. Meda. Medaya Manisha. Your thoughts will be very refined. Good thoughts will come when you have a sharp intellect. Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka will become at a high level. So Manisha. Thoughts. Thoughts will be very refined thoughts. Manishaya Manaha. Your mind, which is an unmanageable kind of an apparatus, will become such a nice thing to keep it under your control, for which you have to go through this route. So Manishaya Manaha Manasa Shantihi. That's why in Bhagavad Gita he said, Nasti Buddhira Yuktasya Nacha Yuktasya Bhavana Abhavayataha Shantihi Ashantasya Kuta Sukham. Krishna asks, where is Sukha if you don't have Shanti? If you don't have Bhavana, where is your Shanti? If you don't have this Buddhi, where is your Sukha and Shanti? That Buddhi comes only through Shraddha and Meda. That Buddhi is talking about is this Meda. Sharp intellect, which can segregate Nitya, Anitya, Vastu, Viveka, Vichara. So, Manaha, Manasa Shantihi, Shantya Chittam. The Chanchalata will settle. The Chitta will be now fixed. It will be on a fixed gaze now. Chittam. Chittena smritihi. You develop that memory, that important memory of the most important principle will not evade you. Now again, if you want a counter argument for this, chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. Jayate vishayan pumsa sangaste shupajayate. Sanga sanjayate kamam kama krodho bijayate. Krodha bhavati sammoha buddhi nasha. Then he will lose his memory. Then vinashyati. So this is the counterpart. The chanchalata of a mind will destroy your memory, destroy your buddhi. This is talking the other side. Yeah, Shraddha is required for that. So he says, Chitta gum smritihi, smritya smaram. The accumulated thoughts are all very aligned, and the similar one which is about that paratattva. That is smaram. Smaram is that condensed thought which is residing in you. The condensed thought which is residing in you is called smaram, and that's now very laser focused. Smarena vijnanam. That is how you get your final knowledge. That's what it says. It never said jnanam, vijnanam. That condensed thought. You know, in Bhagavata Purana they talk of Ajamela and all that. No, Narayana you can't say just like that at the last 11th hour. In this track only it will come. I mean, in a nice way they are telling the story. In the 11th hour, what comes when you leave your last breath is, if you are so worried about your stock market, that only will come to your mind. If you are so worried about your car, that only will come to your mind. If you are worried about your landlord your tenant not paying your rent, that only will come to your mind. That is what it is actually saying. It is saying, what is this process to go there? So beautifully the Upanishad says. And it starts from sun. See how he is connecting the chain of events. So beautiful. What a thought, what a level they have connected these. He says, Vijnanam. Vijnanena Atmanam Vedayati. That is how you know that ultimate truth. So that Vijnanamayam Atma is where we are going now. And for which Shraddha is the lift force. Put at the middle of this Upanishad Vakya, you find that Shraddha. That's why Tasya Shraddhaye Vashiraha. That is what it is. That one sentence means all this. Tasya Shraddhaye Vashiraha means we have to go to some Upanishad like this and understand the meaning. Otherwise, so this is the real track on which we will have to, we can keep this checklist. How have you gone? It's a nice mantra. You can ask, where am I? Maybe I am in, somewhere between Bala and eating. Something like that. You can check that. It's so beautiful. There is a Shraddha Suktam, which is part of Udaka Shanti. We are recently going through it. Udaka Shanti, there is 6 mantras. I did not bring nice mantras actually. 6 mantras are there. It is actually Rigveda, but it is also part of Yajurveda and Udaka Shanti. So I just brought 2-3 mantras out of it. It says, Shraddhaya Agni Samidyate, Shraddhaya Vindate Havihi, Shraddham Bhagasya Murdhani, Vachasa Vedayamasi. Vachasa Vedayamasi. I will celebrate this idea. I will praise the greatness of Shraddha. This is how the Sukta starts. I will make oblations with Shraddha into a fire called Shraddha, which will, do it so well. So very metaphorically only our literature is there. You will have to make more meaning of it. So that's what it says. Makes the fire burn splendidly. Oblation is offered with Shraddha. Shraddha is the best among all kinds of wealth that you can ask for. Shraddha is the best kind of wealth, is what he says. Shraddham deva yajamanaha vayu gopa upasate Shraddhagum hridaya kuutya Shraddaya vindate vasu. He says you will get ultimately wealth only through Shraddha. Now the point is, this wealth can extend from the perishable inventory of wealth that we have now to the imperishable inventory of wealth called Sayujya. It depends. In Bhagavad Gita there are so many shlokas. In 7th chapter he says, the way people exhibit Shraddha to me, I'll give them that much. So from a perishable inventory of Sukha to a non-perishable, the entire range is available. It all depends on what Shraddha you bring. So Shraddhaya vindate vasu is a universal statement. Without Shraddha you don't get. A Nobel laureate doesn't get the Nobel Prize without Shraddha. He would have hit for 20, 30 years. I mean, after that we'll have interview, we'll talk nicely for 50 years. You don't know what went behind it. How many challenges he has gone through, his raw material is Shraddha. For Jnana, Shraddha is all others will automatically, it will bring. It will attract other things. You have to bring Shraddha, it will attract everything. If you don't bring Shraddha, whatever will come will go. Look at a great innovator. Look at a person with a great passion. His only raw material is Shraddha, nothing else. He has a firm belief this is going to happen. He has a firm belief in his laboratory he will find something which is not existing. That's why he got Nobel Prize. Shraddha is the ultimate of the wealth. That's what the Shraddha Suktam is saying. Shraddham pratarhavamahe Shraddham madhyandinam pari Shraddham suryasya nimruchi Shradde Shraddhapayehanaha. He says, offer Shraddha morning, midday, evening. Morning, midday, evening is frequent usage in Vedanta. What it means is 24/7. It doesn't mean once in the morning, once in Madhyana, once in evening. It is not Ayurvedic medicine. Before food you take 4 homeopathy medicine. It is not. It is a symbolic representation saying you bring Shraddha, do it, work with Shraddha, you will achieve. Nimruchi, after sun is gone, evening, that time also bring Shraddha. Pratam havamahe, will bring and make the ahuti called Shraddha. Madhyandinam pari, again, means all the time work with Shraddha. That is the only way you will get jnana. From simple jnana to the greatest jnana. 7:5, I will stop here. We will continue next class. It's already 1 hour, 5 minutes. We will continue. I have a lot more to talk about Shraddha. I think that is more, these are very important for us. Mantras and all we will see. We have to get this other side very clear. Then the mantras will fall in place. Next class we will continue on that. Thank you. You can stop.